Section 25 of The Dream of the Red Chamber, Book 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mary J. The Dream of the Red Chamber, by Cao Xueqin. Translated by Henry Bencraft Joly, Chapter 11, Part 2. After Lady Feng had heard these words, her eyes unwillingly got quite red again. "When I'm at leisure I shall, of course," she rejoined, "come often to see you," and forthwith leading off the matrons and married women, who had come over with her, as well as the women and matrons of the Ning mansion, she passed through the inner part of the house and entered, by a circuitous way, the side gate of the park, when she perceived yellow flowers covering the ground, white willows flanking the slopes, diminutive bridges spanning streams, resembling the Zhou Ye, zigzag pathways looking as if they led to the steps of heaven, limpid springs dripping from among the rocks, flowers hanging from hedges emitting their fragrance, as they were flapped by the winds, red leaves on the tree-tops swaying to and fro, groves picture-like, half stripped of foliage, the western breeze coming with sudden gusts, and the wail of the oriole still audible, the warm sun shining with genial rays, and the cicada also adding its chirp, structures visible to the gaze at a distance in the southeast, soaring high on various sites, and resting against the hills, 3 halls visible near by on the northwest, stretching in one connected line on the bank of the stream, strains of music filling the pavilion, imbued with an unwonted subtle charm, and maidens in fine attire penetrating the groves, lending an additional spell to the scene. Lady Feng, while engaged in contemplating the beauties of the spot, advanced onwards step by step. She was plunged in a state of ecstasy, when suddenly, from the rear of the artificial rockery, egressed a person, who approached her, and facing her said, "My respects to you, sister-in-law." Lady Feng was so startled by this unexpected appearance that she drew back. "Isn't this Mr. Ray?" she ventured. "What, sister-in-law!" exclaimed Chia Ray. "Don't you recognize even me?" "It isn't that I didn't recognize you," explained Lady Feng, "but at the sudden sight of you I couldn't conceive that it would possibly be you, sir, in this place." "This was, in fact, bound to be," replied Chia Ray, "for there's some subtle sympathy between me and you, sister-in-law. Here I just stealthily leave the entertainment in order to revel for a while in this solitary place, when, against every expectation, I come across you, sister-in-law. And isn't this a subtle sympathy?" As he spoke he kept his gaze fixed on Lady Feng, who, being an intelligent person, could not but arrive, at the sight of his manner, at the whole truth in her surmises. "It isn't to be wondered at," she consequently observed, as she smiled hypocritically, "that your eldest brother should make frequent allusion to your qualities, for after seeing you on this occasion, and hearing you utter these few remarks, I have readily discovered what an intelligent and genial person you are. I am just now on my way to join the ladies on the other side, and have no leisure to converse with you, but wait until I've nothing to attend to, when we can meet again." "I meant to have gone over to your place and paid my respects to you, sister-in-law," pleaded Chia Ray, "but I was afraid lest a person of tender years like yourself mightn't lightly receive any visitors." Lady Feng gave another sardonic smile. "Relatives," she continued, "of one family as we are, what need is there to say anything of tender years?" After Chia Ray had heard these words, he felt his heart swell within him with such secret joy that he was urged to reflect. "I have at length today, when I least expected it, obtained this remarkable encounter with her." But as the display of his passion became still more repulsive, Lady Feng urged him to go. "Be off at once," she remarked, "and join the entertainment, for mind, if they find you out, they will mulct you in so many glasses of wine." By the time this suggestion had reached Chia Ray's ears, half his body had become stiff like a log of wood, and as he betook himself away with lothful step, he turned his head round to cast glances at her. Lady Feng purposely slackened her pace, and when she perceived that he had gone a certain distance, she gave way to reflection. "This is indeed," she thought, "knowing a person as far as face goes, and not as heart. Can there be another such beast as he? If he really continues to behave in this manner, I shall soon enough compass his death with my own hands, and he'll then know what stuff I'm made of." Lady Feng at this juncture moved onwards, and after turning round a chain of hillocks, she caught sight of 2 or 3 matrons coming along with all speed. As soon as they espied Lady Feng, they put on a smile. "Our mistress," they said, "perceiving that your ladyship was not forthcoming, has been in a great state of anxiety, and bade your servants come again to request you to come over." "Is your mistress," observed Lady Feng, "so like a quick-footed demon?" While Lady Feng advanced leisurely, she inquired, "How many plays have been recited?" To which question one of the matrons replied, "They have gone through 8 or 9." But while engaged in conversation they had already reached the back door of the Tower of Celestial Fragrance, where she caught sight of Pao-yü, playing with a company of waiting-maids and pages. "Brother Pao," Lady Feng exclaimed, "don't be up to too much mischief." "The ladies are all sitting upstairs," interposed one of the maids. "Please, my lady, this is the way up." At these words Lady Feng slackened her pace, raised her dress, and walked up the stairs, where Mrs. Yü was already at the top of the landing waiting for her. "You two," remarked Mrs. Yü, smiling, "are so friendly that having met you couldn't possibly tear yourself away to come. You had better tomorrow move over there and take up your quarters with her and have done. But sit down and let me, first of all, present you a glass of wine." Lady Feng speedily drew near Mesdames Xing and Wang and begged permission to take a seat, while Mrs. Yü brought the programme and pressed Lady Feng to mark some plays. "The senior ladies occupy the seats of honor," remonstrated Lady Feng, "and how can I presume to choose?" "We, and our relative by marriage, have selected several plays," explained Mesdames Xing and Wang, "and it's for you now to choose some good ones for us to listen to." Standing up, Lady Feng signified her obedience, and taking over the programme and perusing it from top to bottom, she marked off one entitled "The Return of the Spirit," and another called "Thrumming and Singing," after which she handed back the programme, observing, "When they have done with the Ennoblement of Two Officers, which they are singing just at present, it will be time enough to sing these two." "Of course it will," retorted Madame Wang. "But they should get over it as soon as they can, so as to allow your elder brother and your sister-in-law to have rest. Besides, their hearts are not at ease." "You senior ladies don't come often," expostulated Mrs. Yü. "And you and I will derive more enjoyment were we to stay a little longer. It's as yet early in the day." Lady Feng stood up and looked downstairs. "Where have all the gentlemen gone to?" she inquired. "The gentlemen have just gone over to the Pavilion of Plenteous Effulgence," replied a matron who stood by. "They have taken along with them 10 musicians and gone in there to drink their wine." "It wasn't convenient for them," remarked Lady Feng, "to be over here, but who knows what they have again gone to do behind our backs." "Could every one," interposed Mrs. Yü, "resemble you, a person of such propriety?" While they indulged in chatting and laughing, the plays they had chosen were all finished, whereupon the tables were cleared of the wines, and the repast was served. The meal over, the whole company adjourned into the garden, and came and sat in the drawing-room. After tea, they at length gave orders to get ready the carriages, and they took their leave of Mrs. Yü's mother. Mrs. Yü, attended by all the secondary wives, servants, and married women, escorted them out, while Chia Chen, along with the whole bevy of young men, stood by the vehicles, waiting in a group for their arrival. After saluting Mesdames Xing and Wang, "Aunts," they said, "you must come over again tomorrow for a stroll." "We must be excused," observed Madame Wang. "We've sat here the whole day today, and are, after all, feeling quite tired. Besides, we shall need to have some rest tomorrow." Both of them thereupon got into their carriages and took their departures, while Chia Jui still kept a fixed gaze upon Lady Feng. And it was after Chia Chen had gone in that Li Kuei led round the house, and that Pao-yü mounted and went off, following in the track of Mesdames Xing and Wang. Chia Chen and the whole number of brothers and nephews belonging to the family had, during this interval, partaken of their meal, and the whole party at length broke up. But in like manner all the inmates of the clan and the guests spent on the morrow another festive day. But we need not advert to it with any minuteness. After this occasion, Lady Feng came in person and paid frequent visits to Mrs. Qin. But as there were some days on which her ailment was considerably better and others on which it was considerably worse, Chia Chen, Mrs. Yü, and Chia Rong were in an awful state of anxiety. Chia Jui, it must moreover be noticed, came over, on several instances, on a visit to the Rong mansion, but it invariably happened that he found that Lady Feng had gone over to the Ning mansion. This was just the 30th of the 11th moon, the day on which the winter solstice fell. In the few days preceding that season, Dowager Lady Chia, Madame Wang, and Lady Feng did not let one day go by without sending someone to inquire about Mrs. Qin. And as the servants, on their return, repeatedly reported that, during the last few days, neither had her ailment aggravated nor had it undergone any marked improvement, Madame Wang explained to Dowager Lady Chia that as a complaint of this nature had reached this kind of season without getting any worse, there was some hope of recovery. "Of course there is," observed the old lady. "What a dear child she is! Should anything happen to her, won't it be enough to make people die from grief?" And as she spake, she felt for a time quite sore at heart. "You and she," continuing, she said to Lady Feng, "have been friends for ever so long. Tomorrow is the glorious first, and you can't go. But after tomorrow you should pay her a visit and minutely scrutinize her appearance, and should you find her any better, come and tell me on your return." Whatever things that dear child has all along a fancy for, do send her round a few, even as often as you can, by some one or other." Lady Feng assented to each of her recommendations, and when the second arrived, she came after breakfast to the Ning mansion to see how Mrs. Ch'in was getting on, and though she found her none the worse, the flesh all over her face and person had however become emaciated and parched up. She readily sat with Mrs. Ch'in for a long while, and after they had chatted on one thing and another, she again reiterated the assurances that this illness involved no danger, and distracted her for ever so long. "Whether I get well or not," observed Mrs. Ch'in, "we'll know in spring. Now winter is just over, and I'm anyhow no worse, so that possibly I may get all right. And yet there's no saying. But, my dear sister-in-law, do press our old lady to compose her mind. Yesterday her ladyship sent me some potato dumplings with minced dates in them, and though I had two, they seem after all to be very easily digested." "I'll send you round some more to-morrow," Lady Feng suggested. "I'm now going to look up your mother-in-law, and will then hurry back to give my report of our dowager lady." "Please, sister-in-law," Mrs. Ch'in said, "present my best respects to her venerable ladyship, as well as to Madame Wang." Lady Feng signified that she would comply with her wishes, and forthwith leaving the apartment, she came over and sat in Mrs. Yü's suite of rooms. "How do you, who don't see our son's wife very often, happen to find her?" inquired Mrs. Yü. Lady Feng drooped her head for some time. "There's no help," she ventured, "for this illness. But you should likewise make every subsequent preparation, for it would also be well if you could scour it away." "I've done so much as to secretly give orders," replied Mrs. Yü, "to get things ready. But for that thing, the coffin, there's no good timber to be found, so that it will have to be looked after by and by." Lady Feng swallowed hastily a cup of tea, and after a short chat, "I must be hurrying back," she remarked, "to deliver my message to our dowager lady." "You should," urged Mrs. Yü, "be sparse in what you tell her ladyship, so as not to frighten an old person like her." "I know well enough what to say," replied Lady Feng. Without any further delay, Lady Feng then sped back. On her arrival at home, she looked up the old lady. "Brother Jung's wife," she explained, "presents her compliments, and pays obeisance to your venerable ladyship. She says that she's much better, and entreats you, her worthy senior, to set your mind at ease. That as soon as she's a little better, she will come and prostrate herself before your ladyship." "How do you find her?" inquired the dowager lady Chia. "For the present there's nothing to fear," continued Lady Feng, "for her mien is still good." After the old lady had heard these words, she was plunged for a long while in deep reflection, and as she turned towards Lady Feng, "Go and divest yourself of your toilette," she said, "and have some rest." Lady Feng, in consequence, signified her obedience, and walked away, returning home after paying Madame Wang a visit. Ping Erh helped Lady Feng to put on the house costume, which she had warmed by the fire, and Lady Feng eventually took a seat and asked whether there was anything doing at home. Ping Erh then brought the tea, and after going over to hand the cup, "There's nothing doing," she replied. "As regards the interest on the 300 taels, Wang Er's wife has brought it in, and I've put it away. Besides this, Mr. Ray sent round to inquire if your ladyship was at home or not, as he meant to come and pay his respects and to have a chat." "Hung!" exclaimed Lady Feng at these words. "Why should this beast compass his own death? We'll see when he comes what is to be done. Why is this Mr. Ray so bent on coming?" Ping Erh having inquired, Lady Feng readily gave her an account of how she had met him in the course of the 9th moon in the Ning mansion, and of what had been said by him. "What a mangy frog to be bent upon eating the flesh of a heavenly goose!" ejaculated Ping Erh. "A stupid and disorderly fellow with no conception of relationship, to harbour such a thought! But we'll make him find an unnatural death. Wait till he comes," added Lady Feng, "when I feel certain I shall find some way." What happened, however, when Chia Rui came, has not as yet been ascertained, but listen, reader, to the explanation given in the next chapter. End of section 25.